In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt podcast,
we speak with Kat from Wandering Bird, Tash from Life Beyond Bricks, and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust on why they all gave up their houses to live on the road full time.
Plus, you can check out the all-new Pathway 4G Gen 2.
And we answer your questions on which motorhome clubs to join, chassis servicing, and whether you can leave your van permanently hooked up.
Welcome to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and campervans. It's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Right.
Now remember, please follow on your favourite podcast app, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and the bell.
Our product of the week, POW, is like what I like to call it. POW, product of the week. POW. Okay. It's the Pathway 4G Gen 2. If you don't know what we're talking about, well, you're in for a treat, my friend.
Ooh, I've got one here. It's a brand new box.
First of all, what's it do?
Okay, this gets you online. So this is an internet router which is designed for use on the road. It could be used anywhere. We've used it in a hotel.
Yeah.
But you put a SIM card in it and you just plug it in and it works. Any SIM. It doesn't have to be a data SIM. The point is it will take any flavour of SIM from any network and it works across the UK and Europe and further afield.
Fantastic.
And this is the new version, Gen 2. So we've had lots of customer feedback. We've sold thousands of them and loads of customer feedback on it, and it's been really positive. The first one is, can I have a handle on the carry case? So we've added a handle to the carry case. But the big change inside, and this is probably, there's a few, but the big one is that the unit itself is actually USB-C powered. So on the bottom, there's now a USB-C socket. It's 5 volt, whereas the previous one was 12 volt. So now you can run it on a portable power pack. And we've given you, to come with it, a very long, that was a good bit of feedback, USB-A to USB-C cable.
Because a lot of companies selling lots of different things which are USB-C powered, you get them, that's good, and you get it. And when it comes, the cable, the charging cable, it's like that.
Yes, very short, which is no use. So this is this is a very clever USB cable. It's USB-C to USB-C with an adapter, so it can be USB-A to USB-C. So you've got both options.
If you don't know what we're talking about, they're just it's upgrades. It's slightly different.
It's the big one or the small one.
What's USB? Universal, serial, something. Look it up. Google's your friend.
I do know, and I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Long time since I saw that. The other bit of feedback we got was that the mains cable was short. Could it be longer? It now is. It's very long. I forget how long, but it's twice the length.
So if you're not powering it off USB, you can power it off a socket.
Off main socket. You can also power it from the 12 volt accessory socket. And this is, the previous cable was very long and this one is too. So this is the accessory socket, or I call it the cigarette socket. Not allowed to call it that anymore. And there's 2 sizes here. This actually comes apart and becomes the Heller version, the European German version, which is much smaller. So if you've got an old van, an old Heimer, that will be quite common in those, or it's the standard size. So you've got both. Comes a network cable, so you can plug a printer into it if you want to add that to the network. The other thing we've done is these aerials are now more powerful.
Now, this is the thing about this, isn't it? Because it uses the cellular network, and people say, well, my phone's this and my phone's that. The aerial on your phone runs around this little bit of tin foil around the edge of your phone. Yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? Because it works on the cellular network, these aerials pull in so much more weaker signal.
They do, and we've had loads of feedback that I had no network on my phone, and on the same network, this was working. This was picking up a signal from somewhere. And these new aerials are up to 6 dBi, which basically means they are more powerful. So this new unit should be able to pick up a signal from even further away and an even weaker signal than the previous one could. And we've had them working in a tin box. We've had them working, we were at a show testing one earlier this year, and we've done hours and hours and hours of testing on it. And I was stood behind a concrete wall and went through another concrete wall into another exhibition hall, and I could still connect to it, and it was still picking up a signal.
And when we're at the NEC, you use them for your tills, don't you? You know, when people do the card thing. You know?
Yeah, we use them in all the showgrounds. And of course, the NEC is a big metal box,
yes,
a big Faraday cage, as is potentially your motorhome. We even had someone report the old unit worked all the way through the Mont Blanc tunnel, which is incredible. And I said, how did you know? And they said, well, we had internet radio on and it was still working.
This is a fantastic invention. The Mark I version, as Matt says, sold thousands. This is a true upgrade. How much is it, Matt?
There's some more upgrades. I'm going to tell you about those.
More?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Hang on a second.
So the team also fed back or collected all of your feedback. The instructions now come in a lovely faux leather pouch. I don't know why we did that.
Well, in case you spill your wine on it.
I don't know. It protects the instructions, that's true. But Darren and the team, Maddie and Ben, have gone through these with a very, very fine tooth comb and massively improved them. It's a much more all-inclusive book about everything you'd need to know about how to change settings. The other big change to this, it has what we call a chipset, a new chipset. So you don't need to be changing settings when you're going in and out from the UK to Europe. It just works, that's a big change to the inside, and that's taken quite a long time.
So for people who are nervous about computer technology and such like, there's nothing to be nervous about.
Nothing at all. It now just works. You can change settings in it very, very easily, and they're all contained with the instructions. But now it generally depends on the SIM, and there are some nuances to it, but 99% of the time, in my experience, going in and out of Europe, you don't need to change anything. And they come with a free sticker that says I'm connected with Pathway 4G, and it comes with suckers as well, a free keyring. Look at that. I didn't even know. I opened one when they arrived. I went, what's this? It's a keyring. So they are free. We have got extra key rings and stickers coming. So if you've got Gen 1 and you'd like a sticker or a key ring, and pop into the shop, or if you're placing an order, just let us know and we'll include one with your order. So we are getting more of these.
And before we get to the price, I've asked this once already. Is he avoiding the question?
No.
Before we get there, there's something really rather special, isn't there?
Well, there's a spare sucker, because people lose those, so that's included in every kit. And there's another little leather pouch. Look at this. Leatherette, let's call it that. And inside, this was a big complaint with people like me with massive fingers. Getting the SIM card in and out of the device was a challenge. So we have given you, in a little plastic or rubberized holder, a SIM card fitting and removal tool in a branded little holder, so it doesn't poke you in the skin and cut your leg.
And if you lose that, by the way, an old-style metal paperclip works well as well.
It is like a paperclip, but it's in a little rubberised holder, so you can put it on a key ring, and if you put the keys in your pocket, it won't stab you. And a set of tweezers. So you can poke the SIM card, it will pop out, and then grab hold of it and pull it out. And this is in every Pathway 4G. And I don't know if we're getting spare ones of these, but this is a really handy device for getting the SIM card out if you're swapping it.
And removing splinters.
And that as well.
Yeah.
So always handy to have a pair of tweezers, but all in response to customer feedback. So I'm happy to tell you the price.
As they say in France, combien de prix?
Très bien. So it is retail $249.99. It has gone up very slightly, but I think you can appreciate that's fair enough. And at shows, there will be a show deal as we launch this of £220. And there's limited stock at shows, so we are taking a fair amount with us. The first batch have arrived. We have more coming, so we will have thousands in stock very soon. And hopefully, we will start seeing it cropping up in other shops other than That Leisure Shop. But you can buy it online, thatleisureShop.com, and you'll see Pathway 4G on the homepage. Click there and order yours. And remember, if you're a podcast listener, use the code Motorhome Matt and get 10% off your first order. Or come and see us at a show, and it's £220.
Well, there you go. And, yes, Matt's involved with it. It's partly his invention. He's pulled it all together and all the rest. But it really has been a revolutionary product. And like Matt says, you don't have to have a caravan or motorhome to use it. When you go to a hotel, you get those terrible Wi-Fi in hotels, even the expensive ones. Something like this, you stick it to the window and away you go.
And that's the big thing with this. There's no drilling. You just plug it in, whatever power source you want, and lick and stick it to the window, the wall of the motorhome, or the mirror in the hotel room.
Let's dive into the main topic of this week's podcast, Matt. It's about giving it all up, leaving it all behind and living in your motorhome.
Living the dream. Yeah, absolutely. Loads of people want to do this. And this is an aspiration for many. And it can be very challenging. And I think we put a lot of obstacles in the way to giving up bricks and mortar and living in the van for an extended period.
It's frightening.
Well, no, it's not. But it feels frightening.
Yeah.
It feels a bit scary. But living in the van for a long period or even full time can be a challenge, for sure. It can seem a challenge. So I was joined by three very special guests who have all done this to some degree. And they travel on their own and with a partner. We recorded this live at the recent Stoneleigh show back in April. And I asked these three special guests what life is really like on the road and what is it like to give up bricks and mortar to live in a motorhome. But the interview started with Kat, aka Wandering Bird, as always, moaning at me.
You can't stand next to me because all you'll do the whole time is tell me to shut up or talk quieter.
Listen, we're married, so I am delighted to be joined by the lovely Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust,
Hi.
the lovely Tash from Life Beyond Bricks, and Kat from Wandering Bird. The lovely Kat.
Hello.
Welcome, gang.
Hi.
Now, I'm taking over the mic because I'm anticipating any moment not getting a word in edgeways.
That's our plan.
So
Yeah.
you three all live in a motorhome or spend time, extended periods of time in a motorhome. Jackie, let's start with you. Just very quickly, in 30 seconds, tell us your story.
So I do a YouTube channel with Richard from Early Retirement Wanderlust. We don't live in our motorhome, but we do spend, last year we spent 26 weeks of the year travelling in our camper van, and we downsized just to buy a tiny little house so that we do have a little base to return to.
Okay, brilliant. So you've sort of given up bricks and mortar for a long period of time.
Yes.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Tash,
Hello.
yours is slightly different. Tell us.
Yes, so I've been full-time in a motorhome with my husband and rescue cats for just over 7 years. So we decided to sell up and go travelling for what was meant to be a gap year. But then we decided we loved it too much, and also COVID actually came at the end of that, so we couldn't get another house anyway. And then we've been making it up ever since as we go along.
The plan is there is no plan.
100%, well
That is-
remembered.
that is your positioning statement. Now, Kat, you are known as Wandering Bird.
I quit my job in 2018, used to be an air traffic controller, got tired of sending people off on these amazing trips and decided I wanted to go off on some of my own. So I quit my job and went travelling around the UK and Europe in my motorhome. Again, it was supposed to be for a year or two. I didn't ever think I'd be still doing it 8 years later. I was full-time in my van for about 4.5 years. I have now got a little house, but I spend about half the year travelling in my motorhome.
Okay, and all of you have got loads of content online, YouTube channels, Tash, Life Beyond Bricks, Wandering Bird, and Early Retirement Wanderlust,
Yeah.
and you've got a book.
We have got a book that got released last Sunday, and it's on Robbie Rome's Note for Travel Style.
And it is lovely.
Yes.
I bought a copy yesterday.
Oh.
I did.
I still need to get mine. I'm going to get it.
And I want it signed.
Does feel really surreal that there is a book, but it's not just about us. It's about this early retirement and the story and emotional side of if you're thinking about early retiring or retiring in general.
Yeah, brilliant. Kat, you've got loads of books and
But none of
guides.
them about my story, fun enough. I probably
No,
need
it's
to do
true.
that at some point.
Yeah, you should. You should. But your books are about travelling to Europe, and you've been pretty much extensively all over Europe.
I
haven't
have done about 90,000 miles, and
Oh
about
my goodness.
40,000 of them were solo.
you? Don't buy Kat's motorhome. It's very high mileage. It's knackered.
That has been over 3, but still, it's really...
And Tash, where's your book?
Well, I do have a book out actually
You
about
do?
travelling with cats.
We
Yes.
bought that.
Yeah, you
The
did.
first time we ever met you.
I love this. So yeah, I do have that book out, and I have got some other things in the pipeline.
Oh, we're excited. All right.
Yes.
So I want to talk about the fact that you've managed to do this. Lots of us consider giving up bricks and mortar, that security of bricks and mortar, but we put obstacles in the way. Some are realistic, some are important, and some really don't matter. Can we talk about what some of those obstacles might be? And not only giving up bricks and mortar, but giving up work. You know, you guys have all, you're fortunate, Jackie, you're retired.
We are retired.
I'm half retired. I'm tired. You laughed at it this
Seething
time.
with jealousy here, aren't we?
I'm
Yeah.
absolutely raging,
Yeah.
by the way.
And so all of you have been through this experience. Jackie, can we start with you? Because yours was your catalyst for this, and your ability to do it was sparked by retirement and a house move. Tell us.
Yeah, when we early retired, we retired earlier than we anticipated, so we had to downsize our house so that we could afford to put our plans into action. We retired at 51 and we needed to get to 55 before we would get any cash at all and getting our pension. So we sold our house and we downsized and bought a little house in the Yorkshire Dales. And just travel.
And were there any obstacles for you? I mean, tell us a bit about the T6. I mean, you decided to live in a Volkswagen van.
I'm not sure whether it was decided or it was kind of forced upon us. In order for our house to complete, we wanted the chain to not fall down. We said we would complete and then we would move into our house when it was ready. Originally that was going to be within 2 weeks, and then it went to 4 weeks, and it was all to do with an issue with septic tanks. Who knew that septic tanks could keep us going for 14 weeks? And the only place that we had to live was our little VW T6 camper van. In August, when we were first, we say houseless, not homeless, but we thought that was really fun. We went out travelling in Europe, but by November, when it was coming into the winter and we still didn't have a house to move into, living in the T6 was maybe a little bit cramped, I'm going to say.
And cold?
And cold, yes. So luckily we got the keys to the house in mid-November.
Okay, so you do still have a house. You've downsized significantly, though.
We've got a 1 down, 2 up.
Okay. Now, decluttering then, this is, can be an obstacle where people don't want to give up all the stuff. I mean, you should see my garage. It's nuts. It's ridiculous.
And living in a T6 did teach us that we could live with very little. So we literally had to start with, a few bits of summer clothes, our laptops so we could do the YouTube channel, and a few bits that we needed to travel, and that's literally all we had for 7 or 8 weeks. Then we picked a few bits of winter gear up because it was getting a bit colder, and we did realise we just didn't need a huge amount, and that reaffirmed the fact that we downsized and moved into such a small house was a good thing. We just didn't need all that clutter that we had.
Yeah, so it was kind of forced on you initially.
Yeah.
But Tash, yours was a conscious choice.
What, to give up the house?
Yeah, well, you took a year out.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for us as well, it was there were financial motivations, because even though we had a house and a mortgage, if we wanted to go off and travel for a year, we had to fund it. So we had to sell the house, take the equity out to buy the motorhome in the first place.
Right.
And a lot of people said to us, "Oh, you're silly, you shouldn't sell your house, you're giving up security." But in our minds, it was actually the complete opposite, because we didn't want the tie, but also if we rented it out, it would only cover the mortgage, so we wouldn't actually benefit from it. And it wasn't a rented house, it was our home that we'd renovated, so we had to just pull the plaster and say, that chapter's ended, we're leaving that behind, and we want to go off and do this.
And was it a difficult plaster to pull, as you put it?
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, it wasn't, which really surprised me, because I lived in that house my entire life. So I grew up with my mum, and then when she moved out, I bought it off the council, and then it was mine, and then obviously mine and John's. So I thought it would be a lot harder, but that's how I knew that giving it all up to go travelling was the right decision, because it was the one time I wasn't actually scared. And it was, and I think as well, one of the final decisions for us to go travelling long term was we had a few bereavements, and the last one was John's mum, and it was at her funeral. I remember we were stood there and we said, right, if we want to do this, we've got to go for it. And then 12 months later, the house had completed. Decluttering, actually, you say that, became my full-time job. I gave up work before John, and then I would be up the same hours as him, decluttering every room. Keep, sell, donate, and then you just keep doing that until you end up with...
Yeah.
You were like Stacey Solomon.
I was, before it was cool.
In that big warehouse.
Yeah, that was me.
I love that programme.
And I think I'm not really a hoarder anyway, but and it's no disrespect, but John's mum was. So helping clear her bungalow down actually was a big lesson in when you're not here, someone's got to deal with this, so just get rid of it because you don't need it. So,
I see.
And we've actually downsized the stuff that we had in storage since then as well, because we've realised that we need even less. So we don't have a lot in storage, just a few really useful boxes.
So I love your phrase, we were houseless, not homeless. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because your van is your home, it's your absolute pride and joy.
We say we're houseless, not homeless.
Do you?
Yeah, because it is our home.
That's a really good phrase. I'm going to use that. Now, Kat, your circumstance, slightly different. Mm-hmm. You kind of gave up work. You were an air traffic controller, as you told us earlier, to do this in a motorhome.
Yes.
And what was your catalyst to get to that point? Why did you want to do that?
We had this incredible night in Europe when it was our very first trip over to Europe with a motorhome, and we were parked up in the Swiss Alps. We were wild parking, and it was the first night I'd ever seen the Milky Way, like not in a photo, but just literally there in the sky. It was incredible. And I remember just turning to my husband at the time, who was just in awe. And I was like, how many more things are there in the world that we haven't seen yet, that we haven't had the time to experience? And it was very much my work that was keeping us in one place. They tend to like air traffic controllers in the ops room, not parked up a mountain in Switzerland. And so we played that game that I know a lot of couples play, like, oh, let's give up work and travel. And it's just a game it starts off with. And somehow along the ride from Switzerland back to the UK, it stopped being a game and became a plan. And that's what we did.
Now, yesterday, Jackie, we did a session together on the main stage in the Advice Centre, and someone asked the question, how do you define the difference between travelling and being on holiday?
And we've had to do that very really, because travelling for 26 weeks a year, you can't live as if you're on holiday all of the time. One, my liver wouldn't take it at all, and our budget wouldn't take it. So most of the time when we're away and we're in our van, we say that we are travelling and we live as we would at home. We cook in the van, we very rarely go out and eat. We might have the odd coffee out, but we really like the fact that then if our children want to come away, we're definitely on holiday, so we still feel like we're on holiday, and we live like we're on holiday. And we definitely at the beginning of each trip that we do say, are we travelling or are we on holiday? And it's a very different attitude how we approach that trip then.
So it's a very conscious decision.
Yeah.
And how do you define the two?
We take more money with us so we can go out and have a few beers.
When you're on holiday, I see.
Yeah.
And presumably when you're travelling, you are filming for your ever-growing YouTube channel.
Yes, so we're travelling, we're filming, we're sightseeing, we do it on a budget. We'll definitely take the budget version of everything that we can do, as long as we can go and see that place. We're happy just being there rather than going in and paying to go into all of the different experiences that you could do.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're on holiday and we're with the kids, we go, we'll go and do that experience. It sounds really good.
Now, Tash, you nodded fervently when I asked the question. How do you define the two?
I'll be honest with you, we're probably still figuring that part out. So
why already? How long have you been doing this?
Just over 7 years. But if we're referring to the difference between holidaying and travelling, I 100% agree. I think it did come for us in our first year, which was the gap year. So we had a budget, and I think we blew 3 times the budget of what we'd originally said, and quite early on. And it was things like Brit stops that was our downfall, because you forget when you first start doing it, you can go and stay at a pub and have a meal, but then suddenly you're spending 50, 60 pounds.
Well, that's the problem with Brit stops. You turn a free stopover to £100 night out.
So that was the example where we thought, actually, this is, it's things like that. So we probably don't have the same sort of thing where we necessarily will decide what we're doing when we go somewhere. I think it'll be a case of, because obviously we're still working, so it'll be a case of how much have we earned, how much of budget have we got for this period of time, and if you really want to do something, I mean, sometimes if there's an experience that I really want to do that John doesn't, then I'll just go and do it by myself. So that's already halved the cost.
Yeah.
And it's almost a case of, if we've got it, we'll do it. If we haven't, we'll save it for another time.
Yeah.
Because we're quite easily amused as well. Like when we go somewhere, we're big history lovers. So for us, parking up somewhere and wandering around a town and just looking for the different sites, that'll occupy us, so it doesn't have to be extravagant. It can be.
Sure.
But ours is very flexible. It depends where we are, what budget we've got for that period, and what we fancy doing.
Now, you mentioned that you're working. You and John have reinvented what you do for a living.
Many times.
You worked together before, didn't you, in the motor trade?
Yes, we did for a little bit. Yeah, we did.
But now, what are you doing?
Oh gosh, what aren't we doing? So the latest version of what we're doing for work is John actually does electrical system, leisure system installs on motorhomes and camper vans. He was obviously an auto electrician and a technician before, so he's managed to transfer that across. And I am now a virtual assistant, so a digital nomad, I suppose, helping other bloggers and vloggers with admin. But I'm also a magazine columnist for Campervan magazine, and also do a little bit of ad hoc work, like I've worked for yourself on the stand.
You have, you work with us here.
Absolutely.
Well, not here, but with that leisure shop at the shows.
Absolutely.
Kat, you're working all the time, it seems to me, either on your own or taking groups of people off on motorhome trips. Do you ever have to define travel and holiday?
I'm awful at it.
It doesn't surprise me.
It's one of the things that I've sort of built a gilded cage for myself. So I never planned to do this. I left work and I was travelling, and we downsized to live on my husband's wage. So he was able to travel to work while we were travelling. And that was our plan. And 2 months in, it sounds idyllic, doesn't it? Quit work, go travelling. I was bored. I'd gone from air traffic, where your brain is going, to basically, where are we going to go today? And so I started a little website, like today we went here and we had a coffee and we did this and we stayed at this campsite. And that was Wandering Bird. That was it starting, and it just went boom. And now it has become this sort of megalith, which is fantastic. And I love being able to help other people go and do travelling and fulfil their dreams and all the parts of it. But I am really bad at just taking time out and having a trip where I'm not filming content or I'm not trying to put things on social media or I'm not doing all that stuff. And I need someone to just take my phone off.
But is that because you love doing it
Yes.
or you feel guilty for not doing it?
No, I really enjoy what I do.
Right.
It's a problem. It was a hobby and I really enjoyed it as a hobby. I didn't even know you could make money doing that when I started. And then that turned into a business. And now I still enjoy doing it and I get to make money off of it, which is great.
Yeah, which is great. Now, all of you have a YouTube channel. Is having YouTube part of your life a necessity for doing this? Is it just a mechanism or is it just irrelevant?
How much money do you make from your YouTube channel?
It pays for our ferries, and
that's good.
it pays for our ferries, and it pays for the bits of travel. So it gives us the luxuries in our early retirement. But yeah, it's not what people think.
8 years. I've got nearly 50,000 followers. If I get 500 quid a month from it, I'm doing well. It's not going to survive.
No, but the monetization bit of YouTube, that's a challenge, and it is very difficult to make money out of YouTube in this niche because our audience isn't big enough. You got YouTubers like the Beast. They've got millions of subscribers, and he is making a lot of money. YouTube love him.
Tash can be the Beast.
What are you calling Tash?
She's lovely, but she could be as big as the Beast.
She could be huge as the Beast. Yeah. And, let's stop that thread. But when I ask you about YouTube, I don't necessarily mean the money, but I mean there's something to do, a purpose. Is it important?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Why not?
But for exactly the same reason we said, you are always filming and you feel guilty. I certainly feel guilty when you're not filming and not creating the content, and it's really hard to know where that line is.
Right.
I think for me personally, so yeah, we have a YouTube channel that we started off quite early, but we fell into it, same as all the social media, because 7 years ago it wasn't actually quite the beast that it is now.
Yeah.
It's almost like you buy a motorhome now, you get a free GoPro, you know what I mean? But you're absolutely right. I'm not going to lie, the social media presence has given us the platform to actually do what we're doing now. Like we get to come to the shows and talk, and obviously John's electrical business is built off of the back of people knowing us, and we enjoy being part of that community. So whilst we changed our priorities and it's no longer necessarily YouTube or anything like that, it is still part of the driving force of keeping our faces in, dipping our toe in the water still, if you like, and it is what has enabled us as a platform to do these other things we're doing. So, but we've consciously chosen to try and steer away from it. So we've got other avenues, multiple income streams. Is the key.
It's a really fair point. And the other thing is, I think looking back on your trips and your travels, certainly when I was travelling with my daughter, I love those videos that we did because they're such good memories.
Yeah. And it is true. Most people you speak to, certainly, because obviously we've been around for quite a long time and met so many people in the community, and it always starts out as, it's just for the family, and that's how it grows.
Yeah.
But it's lovely because technically that is still true. So no one can take away that early, those early memories from you. So it does have a nice connotation to it.
Yeah, do it for fun. Just don't expect to make a fortune from it.
But if it's not your passion, which it wasn't mine, and I realised that, and it's a bit like gambling, when the fun stops, stop. So that was my sort of, my motivator to have the courage to try other things and not worry about not being a YouTuber anymore.
But Jackie, your YouTube's getting big. I mean, it's grown so fast in a short space of time, hasn't it?
I think it's very different for us. We really enjoy doing the YouTube, and for us it gives us a structure to our week still, because we're retired. It still is. We don't feel like we're working. We never feel like we're working. When we are doing our travel videos, we're literally walking around. Richard's just got his little camera in his hand now.
I think it's gaffer tape to his thumb, actually.
It is, actually, yeah. And it doesn't particularly interfere with what we're doing. If we're on a hike, we'll just take lots of little videos. And then we're in a routine that on a Thursday, all our videos are to do with early retirement, and we literally sit down for an hour. But it gives us that routine. We know on a Thursday we've got a video to get out, and on a Sunday we never miss them, because Richard is very, very organised and he doesn't like missing them. But yeah, we're still at the stage where we love doing it.
I think it helps as well when you're both doing it. It's something you can do together, because I know you were doing it on your own, I was doing it on my own, and that I think adds an extra level of friction.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're doing it together, amazing.
Yeah.
But the main thing I always say is it's whatever works for you. We
It
don't all
is,
have to
yeah.
do the same thing. The beauty is we all have one common interest, but we all have different ways of going about it. So I think it's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
And your common denominator is the van. You're
Yes.
very different ages and you're doing this. But so therefore you come at this from a different perspective. What barriers do people put in position or in the way to go off in the van long term? And you talk to people all the time at shows and via your Instagram and DMs.
Mm-hmm.
What barriers have you discovered people put in place?
I don't know. I was just going to say, one that we get commonly, which doesn't actually apply to us, is people say, I wish I could do what you're doing, but I've got grandkids, I've got kids.
Right, okay.
That's what we hear a lot.
I hear about finances and pension a lot. Like, well, what are you going to do when you hit pension age? What are you going to do when? How are you going to earn the money to get through and do all that kind of stuff? And that's, I think, a big one for my audience.
But I guess kids, you can't turn them off or get rid of them. Well, I suppose you could try. And we have that situation where Jude's looking after grandkids 2-3 days a week. Makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
The parents of those kids would be quite upset if we disappeared for 3 months. It's hard enough coming to a show for a week. But finances, you can kind of justify that, and you can do things that I know you took a lot of financial advice in terms of going into retirement.
We did.
To enable you to do this, and I guess that's a very real one. But what obstacles do you encounter?
Obviously, finance was a big one for us, and we found a way around it by downsizing. For us, a big barrier for doing it more permanently, because if we sold our house and went to travel, we would want to travel extensively, is our family. We've got 2 children. Luke's getting married this summer, so he is planning. They're wanting to have a family. My mum's 82, and I can see she's getting a little less mobile. So it's probably the family tie that's keeping us. And just knowing that we've got a base to go back to if we needed to.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about where you travel in the van. How do you make a decision about where to go? Tash, for you, it's driven by John's work the moment.
Yeah, currently it is, yeah.
So where you've just come here from somewhere
where have
far
we just
away?
come from? Oh, Grantham, not that far away. But yeah, already this year we've been to sort of Bristol, Cornwall, Ross-on-Wye, Grantham. Now we're here, then we're off to... I can't even remember where we're off to next. So yeah, at the moment for us that is driven by his work, and I guess for us, because we're having to earn what to try and travel, we're trying to find that balance of being able to work and still move around, especially because John's skill set is hands-on. So obviously I can work from anywhere. But that is part of the balance. But it's really great because it means we get to, we're quite happy touring the UK. We have been abroad in the van, but we're quite happy. There's so much to see in the UK, and the way we're travelling now is a lot slower. I think we're still kind of in the aftermath of when John had cancer the year before last. So we've made that decision to slow down in our travels and not rush around everywhere because we prefer it. But it means we get to go to an area, spend a few weeks there, really get involved in the area before we move on. So it's almost like we're rediscovering places all over again because we're not just passing through.
I'm glad you said slow travel, because Jackie, I know this was important for you. When you started, it was like go, go, go.
The first trip that we took... when we had our camper van, we went into Europe and we did 12 countries and we loved it. We came back and we enjoyed all of those things. But when we reflected on it and people said, well, what did you like about Croatia? Well, we went to one campsite, we drove 3 hours through Croatia to get there and 3 hours back, saw that one place, and we didn't really see anywhere. So very much the same as you. And our last trip, we went to one corner of France. We still felt like we maybe rushed it a little bit. We did the southwest of France. But we've come to the realisation, one, you save a lot of money because you're not using as much petrol and diesel. But two, it's nice to become part of the community and part of the environment that you're in and just exploring it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because that's how we feel, that you kind of become a little part of that place you're in, and it's just really nice, and you have really nice memories then to go with it. So.
And Kat, for you, this is all work.
It didn't start out that way though.
No, it didn't.
And
right.
I had exactly the same issue when we first started travelling full time, is you treat it like a holiday, and we only ever had a week or 2 weeks off, certainly around our daughter and school, and then we were around my job. So we were so used to trying to cram everything in that when we went full time, we immediately sort of travel the same, and you burn out. You burn out so quickly because moving every day is tiring, and having to think about where to go is quite tiring. So that's something I had to learn. Not help with having ADHD, because you're like, yes, let's plan all this in.
Have you got ADHD?
I do.
I didn't know that.
Do you not? You said that almost with a straight face. But so that's something I very much had to learn. Stop laughing or
No, because don't forget, I'm the same now.
I know you are.
I'm newly
we've all got
realised as well.
ADHD.
The whole world's got ADHD now. It's fine.
But it makes sense, and you realise the people you've gravitated towards without realising.
But I also think that's the type of personality who does this kind of crazy thing, because we're like, let's do that, we'll figure it out. Whereas people who perhaps aren't quite so neurodivergent are like, that's an insane idea.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad you said about the burnout, because that is really real.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people who've probably known us for a while, it's like, where are you travelling to next? And if we say, oh, nowhere, they say, oh. And it's like, no, because it's actually, it takes a lot of energy, it's quite tiring. And some people go, oh, poor you. And it's like, no, but seriously, because we're still having to live a normal life and work and do things whilst trying to travel. And the burnout is real. Sometimes you just want to sit on a campsite for a week and not have to think about where you're going next, where your next emptying point's going to be, where am I going to do my washing. So that's
the biggest reason I went from being full-time to having a little house again. Because to unpack the storage unit and get all my little knickknacks out that had been in storage for ages, but also just to have a base to be able to come back. Because after 4.5 years and 4.5 winters, it was quite nice to be able to come back and just have a spot to just stop for a little bit. And I still travel about half the year, but it is nice having that.
And I think again. And I do agree, because people say, oh, do you not want to get a base? Do you not miss having a base? And I said no, because again, naturally, it's evolved in such a way that we have, don't know if you're aware of this, but your place included, we have a little network of places that we do go to sometimes. Just going to throw it out there for the next
You're welcome
time.
anytime.
Thank you. In all seriousness though, and because of the nature of John's work, that does kind of tie in. So we do have a tiny little network of maybe 4 or 5 places we know that we can go to, and it does involve us being able to stop a little bit as well. So again, we've approached it slightly differently.
So is it important, would you say, that you've got that, can I call it a safety net, that places where you can go back to either your own bricks and mortar or other people's, if you're a blagger like
Not
Tash?
necessarily at the beginning, I think you can do a year or two quite happily exploring, but I think you'll find you naturally try and slow down or find places where you can stop and relax a little bit more the more you do it.
I'd say after a few years it probably naturally comes in my experience and our experience.
How do you feel about your house when you get home?
Yeah, we like going away for 4 or 5 weeks at a time, but we do like just returning to the Dales, and like you said, just having that time to decompress, get all of the washing done, just chill out for a bit, because it is quite tiring travelling all the time and thinking about where you're going. But we just like the security of having a base.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So how do you, because I know how I deal with it, but something that came up when I got a base again, how do you deal with things like the insurance when you've left your house for so long? Because I know that can be quite tricky for a lot of people when you go travelling.
It is, and for us, we don't go away for more than 60 days, and our insurance company insures us for 60 days. And actually, we live in the Yorkshire Dales, and as soon as we leave, someone moves in, whether it's my sister who doesn't work and they'll come for 2 weeks, or our children, because they can all work remotely. So we actually find our house is very rarely empty, which is nice. It's lovely that they want to go and do that.
Yeah, really practical.
We have to kick them out when we want to come home. It's like, we are coming back on that date, so you do need to move out.
And it is about, from an insurance perspective,
yes,
the house being empty for a period of time, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Kat.
But no, the other thing I was going to say is something that I struggled. Well, we lived on a boat 15 years before we went into the van, but from living on the boat and the van, and I know Tash had the same thing, one of the biggest challenges is where do you send your mail? Where do you register a doctor? Yeah. Where do you do all of this stuff? And if you've got a home base, you've obviously got all that ticked, whereas we had to figure out how to do all that, didn't we?
It's difficult. Yeah.
What do you do, Tash, with no fixed abode, as it were?
So we have a care of address with a relative, but the reality is that we might not have that for much longer, so we'll probably have to look into another solution for that. And that's how we get around it.
I'm getting your post then.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. We just turn up whenever you want. Come and pick it up.
This is how, and it's actually my father-in-law, it's how he knows if we're due to be near the area, because all of a sudden he'll get like an influx of like parcels.
Amazon
and different things. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is that when we're on the road is because there's so many more click and collect points now, InPost, Amazon, things like that, we don't actually come across, it's not as difficult as it felt before. It's just those kind of things where you have to have a care of address or a fixed address.
Yeah.
Before COVID, it was a lot harder, wasn't it?
A lot harder.
That has changed massively in the last 8 years.
So just to wrap up then, this has been really insightful, hasn't it, to everyone listening here live. Jackie, let's have a tip from each of you. Jackie, we'll start with you, but to someone who is considering maybe giving up bricks and mortar for a period to go on a long-term trip, but there is all these barriers in the way that some are real and some they're making up. What would your advice be to them?
Oh gosh.
On the spot?
Yeah. Just go for it. There's a way around it. Like when we decided we were going to early retire, we could have just mulled over it for months and months, but we just once you've made your decision, it's actually then easy. You just put the pieces in place. It's actually just saying, I'm going to do it. That's the biggest bit. Once you've done it, and in your mind done it, once we'd handed in our notice, that was it.
It becomes real.
It was real, yeah.
And I guess it's like taking the first step of a journey, isn't it?
Things work out if you're determined.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so be determined to do it. Stay in lane. Yeah. And Tash, for you, what would your tip be?
Well, it used to be just go for it. But I think the biggest thing, certainly from my experience and my opinion, is that no decision is irreversible. If you're just a little bit clever about how you do things, and in the back of your mind you think, okay, what would my plan be? But yeah, you just got to go for it, because nothing you do is irreversible. And people always say to me, but what if? And I think that's another obstacle, actually, thinking about it, that people just worry about scenarios that haven't happened yet. And the only thing I can say is we've been up against many scenarios in the last 7 years that we never would have predicted.
Oh, how true is that?
And well, yeah, you were there, you had first-hand experience. And we're still very grateful for your help. And it's one of those things where we never could have predicted what would happen or how we would have dealt with it. Therefore, that is proof that actually when you are faced with things, you just find a way to deal with it. So you've just got to go for it.
And actually your circumstance with John was taken ill with cancer, had leukemia all of a sudden, and we were away at a show, we were at the Royal Cornwall show, and we had no staff, and I had to go back to Cornwall because these two, you had vertigo.
I had vertigo the day before. I think he thought we were lying, but I come down with vertigo the day before, and then John fell ill through the night, and it turned out he had sepsis, and then obviously later on found out he had leukemia. And you thought we were just mugging you off, saying, we didn't fancy going to work.
So we don't feel well, what do you want us to do? Get dressed and go to work. That'd be a good start.
I was crawling around on all like, I couldn't even lift my head.
But that all panned out and has actually worked out fine, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. And how would you ever predict for something like that? You can't.
Couldn't.
So you've just got to go for it.
Go with it. And for you, Kat, what would your advice be to someone kind of playing with the idea, passionate about trying to do it?
I have a little soapbox, which actually builds on what Tash has just said, but you have to have an emergency fund. Do not just quit your job and go, you work a few extra months or start saving whatever it needs, but ideally you want at least 6 months worth of living expenses, not necessarily holidaying expenses, but basic expenses to pay your insurance and campsites and whatever you need, so that you have got a little bit of money in case something goes wrong with the vehicle, or something goes wrong with yourself, or something goes wrong with a family member. I was I was in Europe with my dog, and my ex-husband got taken into hospital, so I needed to very quickly pay for a dog sitter that I could sit the dog in with, an emergency flight home, and then accommodation for me when I was over in the UK. And without that emergency fund, it would have been a nightmare. So you shouldn't go off and do this crazy thing unless you've got a bit of a backup.
Very practical advice.
Some great friends of the Motorhome Matt podcast. We really appreciate their time. Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust, Tash from Life Beyond Bricks, and Kat, the Wandering Bird.
Yeah.
Lots of really helpful insights there.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, you all feel inspired to perhaps give up your own bricks and mortar to travel full time. But like I said before we started this, it is frightening. It's a big leap, isn't it? But more and more people are doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very cost-effective way of living and a wonderful lifestyle. And I think what they've demonstrated is you don't need loads of money and security around you to do it. That there's some preparation that you should do before you embark on it. But my advice is, if you're dreaming of doing it, get planning and just do it. You'll figure it out. You will. And if you want to find out more about Kat and particularly Jackie and Richard, we have their books at thatleisureshop.com, and you'll find all of Kat's amazing guides to go into Europe, travel log books, and Jackie and Richard's new book, Early Retirement Wanderlust. It's amazing, published by No Fuss Travel Guides, so Robbie Rome's in the team, and it's all available at thatleisureshop.com. So please do support them and buy their books.
A quick word about Kat as well. She's doing some tours around and about, isn't she, where she heads them up and people join her.
Yeah, she's very passionate about this. She takes solo women with her, so solo women travellers, and groups, and they go off to France, and maybe a group that's never done it before. And it's not just about going off and living in the van, but it's actually about going to Europe for the first time. And she's giving people confidence and inspiring them to do it. So yeah, if you're not following Wandering Bird, please do so.
It's time for our regular Warner Shows feature here on the Motorhome Matt podcast, and this month we are heading to Retro Festival. It's happening at Newbury Showground from the 7th to the 9th of August 2026, and I'm joined by Michael from the Warner's team. Michael, tell us what's going on at Retro Festival. I've never been, so what can we expect to see?
It's great. It's a new festival for us. It's been running for 35 years itself, and we ran it for the first time last year.
Right.
And it's all about, as it says, a celebration of years gone by, so everything retro. Music is huge on it. There's 3 stages of music, for different types of music. So in the barn that we're in now, it's got rock and roll. And then there's the Ricky Tick stage, which is Northern Soul and Ska.
Right.
And then there's the Spitfire Marquee, which is 1940s, 50s swing. So it covers 3 different types of genres.
But it's not just about live music, is it? There's so much going on through the day.
Yeah, there's a lot to see. So there's thousands of classic cars. It's a big classic car show, a lot of American cars, which is sponsored by Project Heaven Restoration, and they come and do awards, so you can see all of that. There's big old military displays. So there'll be the big tanks and big lorries, and then these groups come and set up like in the old sort of styles, the Spitfires and stuff like that. Then you've got the vintage fairground.
Okay.
So a huge vintage fairground, all the kind of classic ones. And then there's the retro shopping area, like shopping village, so you can get all your retro stuff and mod.
Memorabilia and more.
Yeah, and then there's some big attractions, like there's the big wall of death. Have you ever seen one of those?
With the motorbikes?
Yeah, it's going round and round. That's really good fun.
It sounds fabulous. So coming in period costume is welcome, though not compulsory. Is that fair?
Yeah, but I'd say the majority do. It's great. You walk around, you could be back in the 1940s.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. So the cost of coming is you can come just as a day visitor for the whole weekend for £70 odd.
Yeah.
And then you can camp as well.
Yeah, it's done a little bit differently to our normal Warner shows. So here you buy a camping pitch and then a weekend pass separately.
Right, okay. So, and it's 230 something pounds.
Yes, around that.
For the whole weekend and to camp throughout.
Yes, and it's welcome motorhomes, camper vans, caravans, tents, the lot.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us again, when is it and where is it?
It's the 7th to the 9th of August here in Newbury Showground.
Brilliant. We look forward to seeing you at Retro Festival. You can find out more at retrofestival.co.uk. Michael, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
It's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe.
Now remember, you can get 15% off your insurance premium with Ripe. Just click the link in the episode description. The discount will be applied automatically.
It's the Q&A, the questions and answers. We do it every week where you ask the questions and he, Motorhome Matt, will give you the answer. If he doesn't know, as I say, every week he'll ask somebody who jolly well does. Simon Sparrow has got the first question today. He's from Helston. I'm going to be looking to buy a motorhome soonish, something like the Bailey Adamo. My question is, are the Owners Club worth joining? My only concern is the location of the rallies, as I'm over 100 miles down the M5. Thanks, Matt, and not forgetting your faithful companion, Kato?
That's you, Keith. You are Kato.
Should be Keto.
I'm Batman, you're Robin.
Yeah.
Bill and Ben, I saw someone comment the other day. Thanks for your question, Simon. I'm unable to comment on the Bailey Owners Club because I've never been a member. I have owned a Bailey caravan, but it was a very long time ago. I would say clubs are brilliant. I can vouch for the Adria Owners Club. I'm a member. I've been involved with them for a very long time. And they are a brilliant bunch of people, so friendly. And I would imagine that Bailey owners are very similar too. They are always a great place to get hints, tips and advice on your specific product. And maybe you've got a problem or a question about the van, and another owner is probably going to have the answer. They probably experience the same issue as you. And so they are a really great resource. Facebook groups as well for specific models are a really great idea. And I'd also recommend, as well as owners clubs, looking at other clubs that you can join that do rallies. Van Club, who are Motorhome Matt approved, are just going gangbusters. They're going through massive growth, and they are putting on more and more rallies. At the Warner shows, if you go to one, they do this famous 2 p.m. club on a Saturday. Just turn up at 2 o'clock, free barbecue, free alcohol, free snacks. It's brilliant, and a big bunch of people. I try and go along if I can, and it's great community. So yes, I would encourage you to get involved with some of these clubs. They don't have a huge cost. Great way of giving you a sense of belonging and a sense of community and making you feel part of something.
And Simon does mention he's from Helston, I'm presuming Helston in Cornwall.
Yeah.
He lives on the peninsula, but that's the price you pay, to be honest with you, Simon, for living in paradise.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd live there, definitely. It's a beautiful part of the world. But look at other clubs and talk to them about maybe doing a rally in your area.
Yeah.
Maybe you could help organise it. You know a campsite or a CL or a farmer that'd be happy to host something, and I'm sure the club would welcome that enthusiasm. So yeah, get involved.
Paul Hartley's in Clayton Lemoors. Hi, Matt. We've just finished our first year and a half using our motorhome. When looking to having your motorhome serviced, as in the drivetrain, what do you do? Is it a case of taking it to a garage that service vans? What do you recommend, says Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Definitely get it serviced. There is a misconception that it has to go to a main dealer. So let's say your vehicle is built on the Ford Transit, that it has to go to a Ford dealership. That is not the case. You can take it to any garage, provided they are using what's called OEM parts, so manufacturer approved parts. We don't take any of our motorhome hire fleet. I don't take my own van to a main dealer unless there's some kind of warranty issue, and they will want to know that it's been serviced using the correct oil and the correct oil filter and so on. That's really important, but you don't have to go to a main dealer. I commend you to change the oil every year. I know the service interval is often 20-odd thousand miles in 2 years. Most motorhomes don't do 20-odd thousand miles in 2 years. I do my oil every year at least. It's the lifeblood of the engine.
You've said this before, haven't you? You've said a lot of motorhomes spend a lot of time parked on driveways. Even if you use it a lot, it's not as much as using a car. And the comestibles, things like the oil, are the things that degenerate, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So my advice would be change it every year. There is no harm. It's a few £100 is all it should cost, even if you only do the oil and filter. And then every few years, consider doing the air filter, maybe the fuel filter and the pollen filter if it has one, but get the chassis checked as well. So get them to check down the chassis that brake lines are still secure, get them to check discs and pads. I actually took my rear wheels off on the weekend to fit some mud flaps, and I checked my rear discs and pads, and I can see that the next service they're going to need doing.
But I suppose his point is, can he take it to his local friendly garage that does his car?
So he could, yes, if they are not using OEM parts and it's in warranty, you could be in for a problem. But I would personally, if I was buying the motorhome, I'd want to see that it had been serviced regularly, that it had the right oil. I'd want to see receipts for the oil, so I could see that it had the correct oil, and I want to see how the frequency of servicing, and it just shows that the motorhome's been looked after.
Chris Howard's in Addleston. Hi, Matt and Keith. He's loving the podcast. Thanks very much.
Thank
much
you.
Appreciated. And all the advice you provide. I recently had to replace my leisure battery, a simple lead acid type, as it would no longer charge. I parked my camper van on my driveway. Should I be leaving it permanently attached to the electric hookup, or will this likely do more harm than good?
Well, hooking up came up last week.
In a big way.
In a massive way. So there's a fundamental here. Should you hook up at all at home? I do. And you can listen to the episode last week and you'll find out what that's all about. Should you leave it hooked up all the time, though, is a nuance to that. I tend to unplug my motorhome. I leave it plugged in for a few days, then I unplug it. And I just think this is good practice. My worry is that I'm causing an issue to the charger, and that there's a risk that if the charger failed, I'd be worried that there would be an overcharge on the battery. Now, all the auto electricians listening to this will jump in, and please do. This is a great question for our Chat with Motorhome Matt group, because there are experts in that group that will know exactly the nuance of this. So I would suggest Chris, post it in the chat group. If you're not in it, go and join it. It's on Facebook, and we'll see if we can get some experts to answer it. But I don't think there's probably any harm. It does depend on the charging system.
If electrons are flowing through the circuits, then the circuits are going to slowly wear. So that's something you need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I used to work for Decca Records in their studios, and there was always a big argument about should we use the studios powered up all the time because you get a better sound. And there was a lot to say about that. But all the studios did have a master switch fitted, and when we come in the mornings to line the machines up, we'd hit the big red button and they would come on. And the reason the engineers gave us for that is we're just shortening the life of all the components.
Well, by leaving them on.
Yeah.
But then don't you shorten the life when you turn them on and turn them off? Aren't they under more duress?
For a millisecond, yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just telling you what the engineers told me, but that was audio. This isn't charging batteries. So I'd take some advice. Like Matt says, the internet is your friend on this one, but Matt is your best friend. How do people get in touch?
We would love it if you did. You can record your question. Please tell us where you are if you do that, or you can fill in the form and we'll read it for you as we've done today. Just ask it at mhmp.info/askmatt.
If you're looking for trusted brands and services, then make sure you visit the Motorhome Matt approved directory. It's at mhmp.info/approved.
And would you help us by following on your favourite podcast app or clicking subscribe and that little bell on YouTube? Thank you. Rolling.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep those doggies rolling, rawhide.